And welcome back. We are here with the second group for our qualifying shootout. I am joined again by my co-commentator, Toasty. Toasty, how are you doing for this second session?
Yeah, doing good. Looking forward to this second half. Same three tracks. Second half of drivers. So we'll see where they sort into after all this. Be
Yep.
interesting.
And I have here the timing sheet for the shootout times for our first session. So Willie takes the top spot right now, currently, with a total aggregation time of 240 seconds. And again, that's just simply the best time for all three tracks. And then S. Walker has the second spot. Then we have a V8 Eater. So V8 Eater, that is, I don't remember who that was in terms of their GT7 name. V8 Eater is, let me look this up real quick. I think that might actually just be a typo on Dinosaur's side, because I don't remember seeing V8 Eater at all.
I don't know who that is either.
Yeah. Okay, so Vergold is maybe there's like a that's an error. So maybe Vergold has third, Scarecrow is fourth, Trackhead is fifth, Ads is sixth, and we got Nixon. Yeah, something's up with this because Nixon wasn't even racing the first session either. Okay, yeah, this is probably not right. So scratch that. I don't have the timing sheets, at least not accurate ones.
Was it season 4's?
No, this is. Oh wait. Oh my God. This is season 5. Wait a second.
Yeah, this is season 5, isn't it?
This is season 6. No, season 5. Yeah, this is season. Yeah, this is season 5. Okay. I am deeply confused right now. Okay. Well, scratch that. This is season 5. For some reason in my head, I thought this was season 6, but this is season 5.
I got I screenshotted everyone's results from the first half, so I'll have the times for each track to reference at least.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. Yeah, that'll be nice because then we can see what the fastest time is overall, and in general, like how people from this session will. Oh yeah, maybe that's right. Okay, so Harm's Hazmaster is saying, so Trackhead is saying that maybe those are the early session guys, and they ran earlier on Sunday.
Oh,
and I think that's right.
That happened.
So I do have. So the timing sheets are right then. Okay, so Willie is in the top spot. Walker is in second with a 244.1. Then we got V8 Eater with a 244.39, so only 0.2 of a second. Out of across 3 races, 0.2 is insanely close. Vergold fourth at 244 also, but 0.7, so 0.3 behind V8 Eater. Scarecrow in a current 5th place. We got Trackhead in 6th. Then Ads, Nixon. These are all within like a second of each other, which is absolutely crazy. X Session is, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 10, Little Jacob. Cecil Turtle is in 11th. Killer Pros 12th. Motsky 13th, and then Token Timmy 14th.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm looking at the event sign up, and V8 Eater and Nixon did run on Sunday. So.
Okay.
So
confusion solved. Yeah, confusion resolved. Okay. I was about to lose my mind. I was like, what is going on? All right, so let's introduce the drivers for our group 2. So Arya joining us for season 5. I think Arya's first season was season 4. Although I think Arya drove as a reserve in season 3 as well, if I'm not mistaken. So this isn't the first time Arya's been participating in the league, and it's great to see Arya back for season 5. We've got Stoles. Stoles, a runner in the league since, I believe, season 2. Stoles was I don't know if he was the team captain or if Harms was the team captain for season 2, but they were the Hoonigan Honeys Racing Mazda, finishing, I think, second in the team standings overall. A solid performance with him and Stoles and Harm's Way in season 2. And he's basically been involved in all the seasons since then. And he actually won season 3, the team standings for season 3, and then ended up winning the drivers championship standings for season 3 as well. So Stoles is a top contender. We'll see how Stoles' time compares to Willie, the winner of our previous season. And yeah, hopefully we'll see some close times between him and Willie throughout the session. So we got Anthony Colazzo. Anthony Colazzo was a reserve driver, I think, for us for season 2. He's been driving consistently for the league since then. Kip Dunkel in the, it looks like a Mercedes, like a Mercedes Petronas livery. Looks really cool. Kip Dunkel has been with us, I don't know, I don't even know when Kip Dunkel joined us. I think Kip Dunkel joined us in the NASCAR season, so season 3. And then was part of Willie's team actually last season. And so they ended up winning the team championship. So it's Kip Dunkel looking to put in some good times and get some work done for this qualifying shootout. So Dinosaur has given us the 30-second warning before starting our qualifying shootout. We'll kind of go through the rest of the drivers once we start the actual session. But is there anything in anyone in particular you're going to be looking closely at, Toasty, during the session?
I'm looking at the couple new drivers we have at LRC. It'll be interesting to see where they end up.
Yeah, so we were just on board with Ryder before. So Ryder, an LRC veteran, and like you mentioned earlier, we got a couple new drivers here this season. So Lou will be joining us as a new driver for season 5. And then we got Wogrizzle. I think that's probably how you pronounce it, Wogrizzle. Wogrizzle's new, joining us with their debut LRC, the league debut appearance. And I think that might be it for new people. I think SoulShock VR has been with us already. SoulShock's returning to us from, I think, since the NASCAR days as well. And then Dinosaur, everyone's familiar with Dinosaur. Dinosaur is our league organizer and event official, so he will tend to call out the VSCs when they happen in the race. And he hosts the actual events in GT7. So major props to Dinosaur. Dinosaur does a ton of work for LRC, and he legit does something every day. He's he's in 4 ACC leagues, and he's in 3 GT7 leagues. He's constantly racing. I don't understand how he has the time for everything, but he manages it. So hats off to Dinosaur. Oh, and I think there's a couple other people that I missed. So Show Me also joined us from the NASCAR League in season 3. And then we got Anthony Colazzo as well. So think, yeah, out of every driver here, I think we only have 3 total new ones. So X-Session, Lou, and Walt Grizzle are all the newest drivers for LRC. Which is actually really crazy, like when you think about the returning numbers that we get on our seasons. Like the majority of people are people who've raced with us before and are coming back for more, and it's always really, really great to see.
So in the first session, we saw a lot of we were talking about on this track how there are a lot of low-speed traction zones on the exit. We've already seen a couple cars getting quite sideways. Anthony Colazzo included, going through the second chicane. Nice and tidy through Scary though. Then Parabolica, most drivers are taking this in third, drops momentarily to second there. Went a little deep. I think he maybe missed the braking point as reference there going into Parabolica. Take that into account for next time.
It's still a pretty solid time for an opening lap. It's a 1:34.3, and seeing that Willie did a 1:33 something. Let's see here, you did like a 1:33.6. So less than a second away from the top time of both sessions. So Harm's Way, I was wrong earlier that Show Me isn't the other steward. It's Silva. Silva is the other steward. Silva has elected to not race this season, and he's usually racing. Oh my goodness, there's a bunch of cars off.
Yeah, what happened there?
Yeah, I don't know, something crazy there. But Walt Grizzle having to weave through the multiple cars on track there, and decides to let someone by.
I was able to navigate his way through that one. So Arya and Will Grizzle both in the top spots there. Well, that was a bit tight as well there.
Yeah, just
Rewind for a bit before Ascari.
Yeah, that was Sir Hames just threading the needle between the two of them.
Looks like he might have been involved in that contact at the second chicane. He's got front end damage on the car. He's gonna go and fix it.
Yeah, he dove into the pits, so I assume he's going to go fix the damage on the front end. We got Stoles making his way through the second chicane, heading towards Lesmos.
So last session, Burkle put in a 1:35.0. See if Stoles can match that time or beat it here. He lost a bit of time through Parabolica. Improved a bit though. Wondering if Ryder tuned the transmission on his car. He's taking the first chicane in second gear. Most drivers have been taking it in first and then shifting early into second for the exit.
Oh, interesting. Oh no! And he loses the car coming out of Lesmo 1. Lesmo 1 is a very tricky corner. It's got a little bit of that banking, but it kind of goes away fairly quickly towards the middle and the end of the corner, so you can kind of understeer, or I guess in this case, oversteer quite a bit towards the end.
Yep.
I think it's the curbs too, right? Like the curb, if you get your rear tires on there, it can kind of unsettle the car, because we were talking about this earlier, how the curbs, this car doesn't really like the curbs that much.
Yeah. Yeah, Lesmo 1 is also, it's kind of deceiving where the apex is. It's later than you think it might be.
Yeah.
You have to turn in a bit later, because the wall on the inside also sticks out just a little bit.
The D-Slub immediately jumps into the pits as soon as that, as soon as he was slapped with that half a second penalty for cutting. I think that was turn 4, the second chicane. Variante is what it's called.
Yeah, I still use the corner names from like 2009, so
what's the corner
just what
name?
I'm used to.
What's the older name?
Rettifilio is the first, and then De La Roggia is the second.
De La Roggia, yeah, De La Roggia.
For sure.
Man, everyone's having some difficulty there. We see Dinosaur just going off, and then it was... Is that Lamb King? No, it's not Lamb King. Someone just did a simul spin out with Dinosaur coming out of De La Roggia.
It's difficult sometimes when you see someone lose it right in front of you. You have to think about so many things all in a split second, like where they might end up, where you might have to go to avoid them, and then while all that's going on, you're also trying to push on a hot lap. So it can be easy to also make a mistake, even the same mistake that happened right in front of you.
Yeah, it's funny when you're following someone, especially closely, you're just doing what they do. And your mind kind of gets conditioned, even for a few seconds, to be like, do what they do under any circumstance. And as soon as they wipe out, you just end up doing the same thing without even thinking about it. I think a lot of people will refer to that as target fixation.
Yeah.
I think is an appropriate term. So it looks like our drivers for this session are having a little bit more difficulty keeping it on the track relative to our first session.
Yeah, I saw Full Shock went a bit wide through Lesmo 1, just dove right off the track through Lesmo 2 to let a couple cars through.
Yeah. Also, Anthony Collazo just set a 1:33.5 a pretty quick time there, yeah. That's faster than Willie's time.
10th faster than Willie's time. 10th and a bit, yeah. very quick. I wonder if he got any slipstream help from any cars in front of him there, if that was just pure pace.
I guess we'll never know.
Currently just over a second ahead of Arya. Like Verheyen and Stoll's previous teammates, right? Because Verheyen was in the Atenza Group 4, right? On their Mazda team.
Yeah, that's correct. They were all part of the Hoonigan Honeys racing team. The Mazda racing team from season 2, I think. So all the way back to season 2. So Anthony Collazo dives into the pits, likely to change tires, I assume. Let's see if he
getting a new
does
set of
anything else.
tires on the car to push for one last lap. That's just enough time to get around again to start one last flying lap.
So Liu has picked up some damage on that front right wheel and the front fender as well. Kip Dunkel currently sitting in 7th place, fastest time of a 1:36.5. Pretty solid performance by Kip Dunkel so far.
Yeah, that sits just in between 9th and 8th and 9th. Turtle and DS Love from last session.
Man, these cars
yeah.
are just not easy to drive. Like just watching everyone struggle with the curves on this car and how easily it gets unsettled. It looks extremely challenging.
Right. He went through Lesmo 2 a bit wide, but just kept it pinned. I was like working the steering a bit to keep it pointed in the straight line, but able to keep going.
Kip improves on time, but does not improve in position. But again, that doesn't necessarily matter. Position doesn't matter for this particular qualifying shootout, but his time was also only, what, 14 thousandths of a second faster, so not necessarily going to help improve overall either.
Lamb King nice and steady through Scary there. His bright pink and blue car. I got some diamond shapes. Oh, I see.
Yeah. The Harley Quinn livery.
Doesn't improve on that time, so that's a 138.111 for him. 10th place. We'll have to see if Bullshock or Dino improve behind him. Doesn't look like they're on any hot laps anymore.
Oh man, Anthony Collazo somehow picked up engine damage. Must have a big accident there.
Yeah, must have been pushing to the absolute limit and just went over somewhere.
Who else is there?
Hit a wall or two.
Anyone else running? So Sir Hames is finishing a lap, but yeah, Picked up some damage on the front right, so no improvement there. But Sarhaim's finishing up in the 3rd position there with a 135.6. Pretty solid performance there.
Nice. Yeah, that would be ahead of ads in session 1.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see how tight the field's going to be after we're done with all of the. Basically, from I don't know, even from the start, like positions 1, 2, and 3, considering Collazo just beat out Willie's time by a 1/10 of a second, so it's going to be extremely tight throughout the entire qualifying shootout leaderboard.
Yeah.
So Dinosaur is going to reset the room. We're going to switch over to the Tokyo South clockwise course. And then we'll get started with our second track in our next 15 minutes of qualifying. All right, so if you're just joining us, we're LRC, stands for Learners Racing Collective. If you don't know who we are, we're basically just a Discord server for GT7 and some other racing games too. We do a little bit of ACC as well. But the whole spiel about LRC is that we like to have events and leagues and whatnot, just all based around collaborative learning. So for our league in particular, we have 28 drivers that are split amongst 7 teams, so 4 per each team, and then across 2 divisions as well. And the team has to work together to help each other maximize their points. So you're not only fighting for a championship between the drivers in each division, you're also fighting for a team championship in each division, and then also an overall championship across both divisions. So every single point matters, even if you're fighting for like 14th and 13th position in Division 2, those will count towards the championship battle across the teams. And we've seen those points matter. Like, we've come down to the end of a season with maybe anywhere between 1 to like 3 points of a difference in the standings, and seeing that one or 2 points makes a huge difference in the standings is really cool to see.
Yeah, and the Division 2 for this season will be driving, they'll pick from a selection of Group 3 cars. I don't have the list in front of me right now, but it's a good variety of Group 3 cars. And
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about the Division 2. So Division 1, all of the cars will be the same, the car that they're running now, so the Toyota GR010. But I have the list here. So Division 2, the team captains will be able to pick any of the manufacturers for the GT3 cars, including, so like Ford, there's the GT race car, the Dodge Viper SRT GT3, the Mercedes AMG GT3, the BMW, the M6. There's the Ferrari F50, or the Ferrari 458, the Renault GT3, the Audi R8, Porsche 911, RSR. We have the Nissan GTR Nismo. Let's see here, the Subaru BRZ, the Lexus RCF GT3, and then the Toyota Supra GR Racing Concept. So those will be the selection between the manufacturers for Division 2.
I really want to see someone pick the Viper GT3. That car is so cool. It
Yeah.
uses so much fuel, but since this season the fuel consumption is down to 2 times, it might actually be a viable option.
Yeah, right. And I think that's I think that was one of the decisions why Dinosaur decided to make the field not as aggressive this season, is because of to like equalize the manufacturers just a little bit more. I'm a big fan of the Mercedes AMG. I like that car. It's just that one's just like a rocket ship in a straight line.
Yeah,
And they've done some updates in terms of balance between these cars, but I think BOP should I think BOP is on for Division 2, but it's not on for Division 1.
right.
So and I haven't tested like some of these cars out since the most recent updates around the BOP, like that happened within the last like 6 months. So it'd be interesting to see, how the differences in their BOP affect their performance relative to each other.
Yeah, then of course you have different driving styles and how that affects what cars people would want to pick, and the whole draft system that we have this season after these 2 sessions times are put together into this big table of times. We'll be able to have this draft system going on, where the team captains will pick either a driver or a car, um, and go from there. Some strategy going into that, because if you pick a driver, they might want a certain car, and then if that car is then picked before you can get it, then
Yeah,
it's yeah.
it's tricky. Yeah, so I feel like in general, if I were a team captain, I would probably optimize on drivers that are adaptable. I would say adaptable and consistent. I feel like in general, I think adaptability and consistency has probably been one of the better indicators of like medium to long term performance for the season.
Right.
I think we've seen um, the one thing that qualifying kind of hides is consistency, right? Because you could have a fast lap in each of the 3 sessions that's incredibly fast, but if it's like 1 out of every 10 laps you can hit that lap time, that
Yep.
has a certain effect on your overall race pace. So again, like time, the times is like a indicator, right? Like one thing that you can use to judge based off whether or not you should have someone on your team. But again, like it comes down to so many other factors other than just pure qualifying pace. So that's an interesting idea then. Like, what if we had yeah, like maybe for future seasons, I wonder if there's any other ways we could make qualifying different, like if we could somehow evaluate consistency or pace, or like, or like a race pace, for example, instead of just like fastest time. I think that'd be an interesting concept. It would definitely be way different from like a qualifying session, but like if we could somehow take like have a session where everyone does 5 laps, for example, and then you take the average of it or something.
Instead of a hot lap, it'd be like a hot stint.
Yeah. I think that'd be pretty
Yeah.
cool. Because ultimately what we want to do is we want to make the teams as fair as possible, right? So if we had so what we need essentially is the best indicator or best metric that determines how well each driver would perform in a race, right? So there's other things to consider too, like racecraft, right? Which is really hard to quantify, but it would be really interesting nonetheless,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that would certainly help with the few new drivers that we've um that have gotten involved this season. But at the same time, like we were talking about last session, uh, so many of the drivers in this season have been racing with LRC for so long that the team captains know them pretty well, so they know what qualities they want to include in their team and who to pick overall.
All right, so Dinosaur has given us the 30-second warning. We'll be starting our second qualifying session shortly. We're back at Tokyo Expressway South, the clockwise version. And again, it's the same conditions, so we're running equal conditions mode to ensure that the conditions are exactly the same between the earlier session that we had today with group 1 and today, or not today's, but the current session that we have right now with group 2. I remember when we first did this, we forgot to put equal conditions on. And
Oh yeah,
we were like, oh no, we have to like do everything over. Yeah. We need to eliminate
yeah,
all other factors possible from varying the results between the groups, and equal conditions mode is thankfully a way to do that.
yeah. That was funny when we noticed it was in the second track of the three in Tsukuba, and it didn't start, or it started raining right away where it hadn't for other people,
That's right.
and
I
we
remember
were
that. Yeah.
we went, oh no.
Yeah, this is certainly not fair at all. One thing I enjoyed about that particular season was doing like the academy sessions for the qualifying tracks. I think that's something I feel like I should have
Oh
done
yeah.
this time around, you know? I think that would have been good.
So this, along with many of the Tokyo Expressway tracks, very unique layouts. This one, the pit exit is on the opposite side of the track than the start-finish line. So that's why you'll see very, very short outlap times on the right there. Oh, that might actually be a track limit penalty. I'd be surprised if it wasn't. We'll see in a second.
It doesn't seem like he's going to get penalized for it, so really interesting there.
Able to go all the way to the right as far as the wall will allow, I guess. So this is the hairpin here where the pit entry is on the left. You can see the yellow line. It goes into that, what we were calling a parking garage earlier.
Yep. The world's most efficient parking garage.
Yeah. So Anthony Colazzo at Monza was just over 1/10 faster than Willie. For reference, Willie put a time of 118.4 around here. We'll see if Anthony Colazzo can continue that trend of matching Willie's time. 120.4 the first time around.
And I think the first lap is going to be significantly slower than the second, because you don't get quite enough time to warm up your tires on the like half out lap that you get from the pit
Yeah,
to the starting line. So we'll likely see a
yeah.
little bit of an improvement here.
It is a cold track with the weather, and first session as well we were talking about how there's no rubbered in line because it's essentially a highway. So it's not a racing track where you get many racing sessions of rubber laid down. It's a bit slick.
And I love how GT7 does that. Like they pay attention to the details and give you different grip levels for different surfaces on the track. It's such a great game. Like everything that GT7 does, maybe aside from their implementation of ABS, is like so good. And so Anthony Colasso improves by about a tenth of a second. We'll catch up with him later and take a look at some of the other cars going through the course right now. So Arya currently in third position right now, with a PB of a 121.7, currently about a tenth up on their PB. And speaking of kind of low traction, that hairpin right there before this long straight on the back of the track is probably the most important corner on this track to get right, to get that good exit out of there.
Yep.
But there's such little grip. It's just kind of crazy how hard it is to put the power down fully when you're exiting the corner.
Yeah, because all the way to the chicane here, such a fast section. Even the right-hander before it downshift twice, little tab of the brakes, and you're just flying through. So yeah, that exit at the hairpin is really important.
Yeah, I think ideally you're gonna want to take an extremely late apex on that one. Considering the low grip around the corner, I feel like that might be the best way to get the fastest exit. It just seems, yeah, like right there, you can see how the tail of the car just slides right out as soon as you start putting power down.
Yeah, so Arya really improved the end of the first sector through the S's in a much cleaner line. And we'll see how that little slide affects their time here. They were 3/10 up. Yeah, lost 2/10. They're still up overall though. And just the slightest lift through the last corner.
It's quite an improvement there, over half a second. Stoll is coming up on Lamb King towards the chicane.
Lamb King a little bump there towards the line.
Oh, they make a little bit of contact going into the first turn there. Stoll's having a little trouble there through sector 1, entering it off the racing line.
Yep.
Or maybe I should say ideal line.
Right. these drivers are very good about asking each other through the party chat, the PSN chat, who's on a hot lap, who's on an out lap, and they don't ever want to get in each other's way. So if the driver behind, if they're a tenth up or so, and they see a car ahead of them is on a hot lap, even if they're a bit faster, they'll wait behind because they'll know that they'll lose that tenth anyway trying to pass them. So better to be patient and then
Oh my goodness.
have the driver let them by for their hot lap. And this hot lap by Stoles has been a little, slightly messy, I'd say.
So the lagginess, I think, made it look way more extreme than it actually was. But like,
Yeah,
the lag kind of made it look like he was losing control entirely at one point. But obviously, because it's lag, it kind of exaggerates the movement of the car in certain directions where the car is not actually doing at that moment. So
right.
I think it looked way less out of control than what it actually was in reality. I know Stoll's being more of a smooth driver typically, so I think it's just the lag that makes him look like he's really pushing it in a lot of these corners.
Anthony Colazzo now into the 119s. So that's easily into second place overall at this track. The next closest time is ARL Scarecrow with a 120.4, so I wonder if, I think Stoll's just improved his time there, 120.7 it looks like.
Yeah, 120.7. Still quite a bit of a gap there between Stoll's and Willie's time. About a second and a half-ish, right?
Yeah.
Maybe 2 seconds.
Less than 5 minutes in the session now. For Hames, looks like he had just finished a an outlap, half of an outlap, I guess. Yeah, the tires were not up to temperature.
Just ping pongs back and forth across the barriers there in sector 1. So
Yeah.
what's interesting too is that as the cars, though, as they keep going through this track, there are marbles that get formed around some of the corners. Like you saw around turn 1 and turn 2, the marbles forming in those S's.
Yeah.
And it does seem like that if you get your car into the marbles, you lose a significant amount of grip, and which will cause you to understeer quite heavily into the barrier. So it's kind of tricky because it's almost like racing a little bit in the rain. Like if you get a little bit off in the ideal line, I guess not in the rain, but more like a drying line. Like as long as there's like a dry line and it's kind of wet off the dry line, you get slightly on that wet part, you're gonna start understeering. It's kind of similar here because like maybe not in the amount that you understeer, but like the consequences is similar because there's no runoff. You're just gonna hit the barrier and then like your lap's done.
Right. Yeah, especially if it's an outside tire, like an outside front tire, it's doing most of the steering. So if that drifts into some marbles like right there on the entry to that hairpin, yeah, that can have a significant impact on the steering ability of the car for sure.
So Sir Hames here will get a nice little tow down the back straight. Hopefully improve their time. Yeah, so Willie says these guys need to stop exiting when they crash and drive into the pits to repair damage. The fuel tank fills back up when they do that. And the in laps and out laps are just the one single lap here too. So, yep, I agree. Although it kind of depends too, though. Like some drivers, they might benefit from having the extra lap that they'll gain from just quickly going back into the pits and then coming back out. Like the chances that they'll have a better time or maximize a better time by having extra laps in, I think might be probably a little bit more helpful than having like a quarter of a tank less fuel, you know? Like,
Yep.
I feel like Willie can maximize the time gained from less fuel, but for a lot of the guys here, I think just getting extra laps in, I think would be the better chance of getting a better time.
Yeah, and there's also the point of where and when they get damage or have some sort of incident, because if you're towards the end of the session like this and you get damage, you're not going to have enough time to go repair it and come back out and then do an out lap and then get one time lap in. It's sometimes you're forced to quit and come back out.
Right. And it could add up too, right? If you crash like 3 or 4 times and you jump to the pits really quickly, like you might be able to save like two extra laps towards the end of the session. But again, I think it just comes down to the skill level of the driver, right? If you're able to maximize, you know, what the weight difference will give you from having a quarter of tank or half a tank of fuel less than you normally would, I think obviously it makes a lot more sense to stay out and keep driving the car around. Oh, sorry,
Haim's picking up a lot of dirty air there through the S's. You can see the understeer. Nice and easy on the power for Lou on their last lap, rather. They currently have a 122.2 on the board.
Oh. Misses the apex there on, I think that's turn 13? Turn 11. Keeps it nice and tidy through the chicane. Let's see if Lou will pick up any time. No, it just misses that out by half a second, it looks like. Let's see here. Everyone else, aside from Show Me just crosses the line, and then Stoles with engine damage crosses the line. Not improving, but so Ryder ends up picking up the second position. So Ryder still off about still off about half a second from Anthony Colazo, but only 100th ahead of Stoles.
Yeah, so I think Ryder with a 120.7 maybe? That would be good enough for 6th place in the first session. So it seems like overall we have a bit bigger of a gap between the 12 drivers in this session. But but combining them, yeah, combining them will be interesting at the end here.
Yeah, Anthony Colazzo certainly up there with Willie, but not quite in this specific track. So he's a 119.2. I think Willie had a 118 something, 118.4. So Ryder, Stoles, Arya, and then Sir Hames make up the top 5. We have D Slove in the 121s, Lou 122, starting the 122s, Kip Dunkel, Grizzle, Dinosaur, and Show Me. And then we have Lamb King and Soul Shock in the 123s. All right, so we're on to our final track. We're back to Road Atlanta. The 12 turn track, or at least 12 labeled turns. And then after we're done with this, we'll all gather around tomorrow for our draft, which will happen behind closed doors. I think that's to avoid any potential, feelings hurt for people being picked last. So we do this all behind closed doors to make sure no one gets their feelings hurt. No one likes to be picked last.
Yeah, the session 1, a lot of the drivers were being caught out by the curbs and the S's on this track, so see what these drivers can do here.
Yeah, judging based off of what we saw at Monza, I think we're gonna see something similar here. Like a lot of the drivers are having trouble with the curbs at Monza. I would actually say that maybe Monza might be less forgiving on the curbs than Road Atlanta for this car specifically. Mainly because you have to be pretty precise, I think. You have to be more precise with the curbs on Monza than you do here. But I don't know. Maybe
Yeah, that's
maybe
true.
I'm wrong. Like I haven't yet to drive this car on both of these tracks.
I think here it has to do more with the getting the timing of the direction change right in the S's. So finding the where the curb has to be on your inside tires into a chicane is one thing, but then left to right to left again, doing it consecutively is it's a whole nother challenge.
Yeah, especially down through some of the trickier corners. So like turn 3, the blind right-hander is probably one of the more tricky ones because you don't actually see the corner until it's pretty much right in front of you. And that one, if you cut too much, can really unsettle the car. On top of the fact that you'll probably get a penalty if you cut it too much. But like judging your position ahead of the curve is pretty difficult because you don't see it until it's too late. And then turn 5 is the fast left-hander after the S's going towards the turn 6 and 7, the panhandle. That's also another pretty big one too, because the curb there, while it's not too aggressive, it's one of those corners you want to maximize the exit as much as possible, right? Because you got the straight down to turn 6.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big area to look at for track limits as well, because you want to maximize it so much, and you can put your inside tires on the exit on that curb. But
Yeah, that's right. Like as long as your tires are on the curb, it's not track limits until the curb ends, basically.
right.
Yeah, and you got a little bit of that sand trap too, like just outside of the curb. So it's like it's a it's a high risk, high reward turn. Like you want to maximize as much as possible there, but at the same time, like the consequences of going too far is either a penalty or spinning out or hitting the sand.
Yeah. Higher risk when the car has 700 horsepower and a hybrid
Yeah,
system deploying. And
and a turbo.
yeah.
So Willie, seeing your times for Road Atlanta, what do you and like we know like you tuned the car and stuff specifically for each track. So what would you say is the most important aspect of Road Atlanta in terms of tuning, whether it's the suspension, the downforce, or the transmission? So while Willie prepares an essay for us, let's take a look at some of the cars on track. On track. In the meantime.
This here would be a good opportunity on board with Ryder to go through the track here. This is the beginning of the S's section we were talking about. That inside curve we just jumped over there was the turn 3 curve. It's kind of over a blind crest. And then this exit is the other curve we were talking about.
Yeah. I'll put ourselves in the cockpit view just so that you can see what the driver sees. Because sometimes, like, if you're, this is one of the reasons why I feel like the hood cam or like the roof cam is kind of like cheating in in little ways. Like you can see more of the track ahead of you, especially around that blind turn 3. Like if you have the camera on top of the car, you can see the blind turn easier. But
yeah,
when you're inside the car, it becomes a lot harder to judge.
Yeah. I do feel like there should be an interior camera lock option, but I also feel like if that were a thing, then FOV would need to be a thing.
Yeah, I agree. Like if they, I feel like they would be able to get away with it if FOV was a thing. But at the same time, like other games don't particularly like. I think like, yeah, it's an advantage, but I think the general consensus is that people generally want realism more than they want like straight up advantage in a lot of ways. At least in a general sense. Like
yeah, depends on the level of competitive.
Yeah, exactly. Like so in like iRacing, for example, the top people in the top splits always use triple monitors instead of VR because you gain like a slight performance advantage from having like a fixed view, and your reference points is like never change compared to like your monitors, right? And so
yeah.
like the top competitors in iRacing always use triple monitors, and you'll very rarely will see someone in VR in those splits. And I think that's just one of the counter examples of like people preferring realism, but in general, I think like people enjoy realism. I think for the most part, people like to be immersed. Okay, so we got our essay from Willie. It says overall, it's by far the line you drive here. But for tuning, I just had to make the rear as agile as possible to kind of simulate more front wing. Okay. So a grippier front end relative to the back end, which is sadly maxed out. Okay. opening the diff, pulling off the rear wing, stuff like that, so I could go flat out from the top of the hill until the hard left. Yeah, so he's referring to the S's section, and going flat out there is pretty important. And then yeah, getting on the power early out of turn 1.
I was just looking at all the information on the steering wheel. I don't usually see that because I'm a roof cam person usually, so at least in these cars where the visibility is so difficult.
Oh man, I really hope you get to try VR like someday, or at least someday soon. Because like sometimes I'll actually turn off like all the visual like UI elements on VR and just look at the and I'll just look at the steering wheel stuff because it's like it's so immersive. It's awesome.
Yeah, I mean I guess in VR you don't get much of the HUD anyway, so might as well just have it all off. Dino and I were trying out different Group 1 cars, and one of the cars we were trying, I think it's the Hyundai VGT. It has the information that you miss usually in VR on like holographic displayed on the windshield. So if you're driving in VR, you get that information.
That's awesome.
Pretty interesting. So it's also very minimally coded, so if you're in first, second, or third, it says first, second, and third.
Third. That's amazing. Alright, so we got yeah, so Willie's saying the same thing. He's like, did you notice that it says first on the Hyundai HUD?
Yep.
Yeah. Alright, so we got the 30-second warning from Dinosaur, so we're going to start the final qualifying shootout session at Road Atlanta, and that will conclude our shootout for Season 5. Again, this season we're going to be doing a draft for our teams instead of just a straight up match between times in the leaderboard. And I think this would be a really interesting mix up from our previous season.
Yeah, it's a cool way of doing it. The points we were talking about earlier and last stream today about the different qualities you want in a driver. It's not just the fastest times in one lap that a team captain would be looking for.
So we just saw Colazzo put in, I think it was a 108.5 or was it 1? I can't remember. It was a low 108. For context, Willie has the fastest lap currently with a 107.9. So that will be the time to beat today. And let's see if Anthony Colazzo will be able to do it. So he got pretty close in the practice session. So let's see if he'll be able to put everything together and get into the 107s.
Yeah, sometimes certain drivers, they don't actually go their fastest until they're in the session. It just gives them that little bit of a push, a little bit more incentive to take slightly more risks here and there and just get this intense focus to improve that a little bit more.
Yeah, it's actually crazy how focus and like pressure really changes like your performance, either in a good or bad way. You know, like
Right.
there's like the psychology around if you're really good at something, the added pressure will make you better. And then if you're only moderately good at something, added pressure will make you perform worse. And in a lot of these cases with some of the higher performing drivers, we definitely see them perform and do exceptional things when it comes in terms of time. I know for like, you know, whenever I'm racing with like Dutra or like you or anyone else, like I tend to perform better just because the sheer competition and like drive to like win and compete somehow magically makes me a better driver.
I'm not sure if Anthony Colazo went deep into the chicane or just avoiding the inside curb. I haven't watched many cars through there yet, so I don't really know if they're taking the normal grass line of
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if he does it
Atlanta.
again, or if you know, that was a mistake.
Definitely making a lot of gear changes through the S's. And some of that might just be for extra rotation and slowing the car down a bit more. I know a lot of drivers in GT7 they downshift an extra time right before the apex of the turn to get that little bit more rotation and then shift right back up. Yeah, he's definitely avoiding that inside curve with the first half of the chicane there. The rider puts in a nice time, 108.5.
Oh yeah, look at that rider with a solid time, putting himself up into first right now. So Willie says that's one of the amazing things about Lewis Hamilton, his ability to turn pressure into an extraordinary performance in F1. In probably every sport, it's one of the marks of a real champion. Comes in clutch. Yeah, I agree. And I think it's also one of the things about rivalries as well, like in Formula One or any other sport. Like when you get two exceptional people, and they basically, it's just like a feedback loop. Like they just both make each other excel so much that they both outclass everyone else. It's absolutely insane. Like like the Hamilton versus Verstappen. Yeah, like 2021 was insane. Niki Lauda and James Hunt is a perfect example as well. Senna and Prost, like just so many amazing rivalries that just happen because two people are both on the exceptional level, and then the rivalry just makes them even more insane.
Yeah, and in a lot of interviews you'll hear if they're honest about it, they'll just say, I don't know how I did that.
Yeah,
You know,
it's subconscious performance. Like it's crazy.
Right.
It's that thing where you get so good at something, like you don't even think about it anymore. You just do. It's like the levels of competence, right? You have like conscious performance, or you like consciously are looking to do better, and then you like eventually become like unconsciously really good at something, and that's like the best way to be good at something. You just to be able to do it without thinking about doing it.
Right. Yeah, a lot of it is about what capacity you have available. As Palazzo goes faster now, 108.3. But I guess an example of this, to continue with the F1 driver examples, Fernando Alonso, just has such a crazy extra capacity while he's driving that, I mean, a lot of drivers, they can just have full-on conversations with race engineers about strategy
Yeah,
as they're
totally.
going 180 miles an hour around high G corners, and some of it is just like uh, they're on autopilot to the point where they don't have to think about that stuff as they're doing it.
I think of so if you've watched like the Senna documentaries, there was one where he talks about his like stint at Monaco when he was basically almost lapped everyone,
Oh
and then
yeah.
he ended up like crashing before the tunnel. But he talks about how like he exactly that he was just in flow state, and he was saying that like he just was having like an out of body experience while just setting like fast lap after fast lap after fast lap, and like doing that. And so what's interesting to me is like how Formula One is like it's not necessarily like a strength thing, you know? It's like it's not like you have the extra adrenaline to like run faster or to like lift more weight, you know, or like more endurance to like last longer, right? It's like literally you skill better. Like whatever you're doing, you're like you're braking at the right time. You're braking at a better time, right? And it's not like anything necessarily physical. It's like all mental, you know? And that's the craziest thing about flow state. It's like it's not just like adrenaline where you're getting stronger or faster or stronger. It's like literally you just perform better. It's like a very interesting state of mind.
Yeah. I mean, there is some endurance quality to it, especially in like yeah, let's talk about Singapore is a big example of that. The heat, the humidity of Singapore. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, it's not directly tied to, I guess, what you're physically doing in the same way. Kind of a different environmental factors, I guess, as opposed to. I don't know. I feel like we slip into podcast mode.
I love it. This like these are the kinds of things that like really fascinate me as like someone who takes like driving pretty seriously. Like um, just like the mental like the mental aspect of sports in general, like sports psychology, deeply fascinates me because like it's there's so much like when people think about sports, oftentimes they think about performance. When they think about performance, they think about like physical stuff, right? But like it's really like mental stuff is really the difference between the top
100%.
athletes and then like the very top athletes.
Yeah.
It's like at that when you're all at that top stage, like you're all going to be relatively physically capable of doing whatever everyone does at that level, you know? But like what really separates you is the mental aspect to be going from like the top 1% to the top 0.1%, you know?
Right.
Yeah, and Harm's Way is talking about like the physical aspect in general too is also pretty demanding, like the G-forces of
Oh, yeah.
of like Formula One cars and whatnot. It kind of reminds me. So, a funny short story. So yesterday, I was karting, and this is the first time I went karting in like a month. After like doing like literally nothing for like the entire month and like being pretty lazy. And the kart configuration, the track configuration was a pretty like high speed turn configuration. So we were pulling like a lot of G's in the karts. And I come home and like my body is just like destroyed. like every muscle in my body is just like, you know how when you have the flu sometimes, and I think this is probably why I had a fever when I went to sleep. Like, you know when you have the flu in your body, every single like joint in your body and muscle aches. Like that's how I felt like after the session.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. That's why I felt the second time I went karting in my life was like, for my 30th birthday or something like that. And after usually not doing any activity and doing that, it was like, holy cow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. So Willie says, yeah, not to mention confidence. Breaking confidence pulls drivers or any other athlete out of the mental state they need to be in. Yeah, for sure. That makes me that reminds me of Carlos Sainz, actually, when he joined Ferrari, and he was like crashing and making these really really kind of like novice mistakes with the car. You know, he was like, there's the one race in Australia that he had where he just basically bends it around the high fast sweeping turns towards the back end straight, and like there's a lot of criticism around his like ability to perform at Ferrari because he was making these really junior mistakes. And then it wasn't like a year later when he starts basically outperforming Leclerc for a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Gasly in the Red Bull. Same with Alex Albon. Yeah.
Arya here put in 108 as well, so few drivers now in the 108.
So earlier, Haley mentioned in chat that in this game, it seems the cars seem understeery, and we talked a little bit about that. So in GT7, I think the tunes of the cars tend to make it so it's generally more understeery, and I think that is actually more of an optimization for controller usage, since the inputs for controllers are a lot more aggressive, right? I think setting the cars up to be a little bit more understeery makes the controller experience a little bit more enjoyable, aside from all the other, like, you know, stabilization stuff they do for controllers as well. But I think that's generally why cars feel a little bit more understeery in GT7.
Yeah, I think that makes sense from like the game developer standpoint of what their target audience is. Their target audience, I can say it, is basically anyone who likes cars, right? We were talking about the first session how this game is basically for anyone who's into cars and racing in general. So most of those people aren't going to have a wheel or any sort of serious sim racing setup. So it makes sense that the game would be tailored towards controllers first. But yeah, as soon as you get to know how to generally tune a car, you can get it pretty close to how cars feel on default on some other games where they're a bit more free, a bit more loose, and get some more rotation out of them. If that's the way that your driving style suits.
Yeah, it takes a little bit of work to get them to there, but it's certainly possible. And once you kind of learn the way GT7 does tuning and what you need to do to tweak the cars to make them feel a little more neutral, a little bit more oversteery, it becomes pretty easy to lock in that setup quicker. But
I guess
overall, I'd say the one thing that I feel like is a common misconception too of GT7 is the way people kind of talk about the physics engine in relation to using the controller and the default setups of the car. I think a lot of people will mislabel it as like, oh, it's really arcadey and whatnot. But I actually think like the physics is actually pretty like good. Like the physics, especially after that last physics update with the suspension stuff, like I think the GT7's physics is pretty, like, I wouldn't say like the best. I wouldn't say it's the best out of all the simulators, but it's pretty good. Like it's on par, I'd say.
Yeah, it's not bad. Yeah, I guess the other opposite of the range of physics, I guess, would be something like Project Cars 2. Very opposite feel in terms of understeery versus oversteery. In that game, if you downshift and brake in a slightly wrong or off way, you're going to spin into a corner backwards. So it's very different. And yeah, in that game, you have to tune a car to make it more stable, more understeery. Where this is the opposite way around.
Yeah. All right, so with that, looks like we are all set with our final session. Anthony Colazo with a 108.2 as the fastest lap, so pretty close to Willie's 107.9. Only 3/10 of a second off. We'll go through the order here so we don't have to do that later. So Aria taking the second spot, only a 10th slower than Anthony Colazo. We got Stoles about a 10th behind Aria as well. Same with Ryder. We got Will Grizzle in 5th, Harm's Way, or sorry, not Harm's Way, Sir Hames, about 0.03 of a second behind Will Grizzle. We got Soulshock VR sitting in 7th, Kip Dunkel 8th, Beast Love 9th, Lamb King 10th, Lou 11th, all sitting in the pit. I would imagine they're kind of fed up with the qualifying session already. Then we have Lamb King in the 110s. We have Lou, Show Me, and Dinosaur in the 111s. So we will have now, I think all of our drivers are all set. I don't think we're waiting on anyone else, but we will aggregate all of these times. We'll have our spreadsheet, and then we will go into our draft tomorrow to have our team set. So if you are interested in following us and following the league, and potentially even wanting to drive for one of the teams as a substitute or a reserve driver, definitely check us out. I pinned our invite link to our Discord in chat, so just click that and you'll join us right away. And then once you join in, you could just basically ask if you're interested, or say you're interested in racing for the league or as a reserve driver, and we'll sort that out as that happens. Any final comments, Toasty?
Yeah, I'm just glad to see some new drivers in the mix this season, and seems like there's a good range of skill going on. We got the two divisions as well as the Academy League this season, so yeah, just glad to see some new drivers get involved.
Yeah, and I'm especially excited for the Academy League. I think one of the sort of biggest, I think, pitfalls or maybe oversights that we've had since starting this whole thing is getting the very early and inexperienced drivers to get them ramped up into racing with us. And sometimes it can be pretty intimidating for some of the beginners to join in some of our events because we've all been racing for so long together. Like a lot of us started as beginners, but now like after 6 months to a year, they're already pretty much intermediate drivers, and
Right.
the core group being intermediate drivers and the new people coming in, it can be pretty intimidating. So I think something like Academy League will make it really great for beginners to get comfortable driving against other beginners instead of like, our core group of intermediate drivers.
Yeah, the core group of LRC definitely advanced as a whole. We all helped each other get fast, and then we got to pick up the um the beginner events again.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely agree.
For sure. All right, so with that, we will end the stream here. Thank you for watching. And again, like if you haven't already, join us on Discord. We're Learners Racing Collective. All of our events and our league events all are surrounded or themed around improving together and collaboratively. So if you're into that, definitely check us out, and we'll see you there. So next week, I think we'll have a preseason race. And I think I'll be able to broadcast that one. And then the following week will be the first race of the season. So again, join our Discord if you want to follow along, or follow our Twitch channel. We stream every race will be on Tuesdays around this time. So If you're free, then definitely check us out and follow along. And thanks for watching. So we'll see y'all later.